The iPhone 11 is the new iPhone XR on the block. At least it was until the 12 came along, and it's just as breakable as last year. Starting at the bottom with two pentalobe screws, just like last year's, and the year before, and before, and before. With both screws removed, we need to pry the screen up. The frame is much thicker than most iPhones, making it harder to remove without further breaking. This did not help the durability much. Adding some isopropyl alcohol will help soften the water-resistant adhesive so we can get back to prying. After working around the frame, we can safely open the phone like a backwards book. Inside, there are 5 tri-wing screws to remove. These serve no purpose other than to stifle repair efforts. And here's where it gets risky. We have to disconnect the digitizer and the LCD before we can access the battery connection safely. For a company who attacked independent repair for being unsafe, they certainly haven't done themselves any favors either. With the ribbons out of the way, we can remove the 3 additional tri-wing screws covering the battery connection, and then disconnect it. With the board fully unpowered, I'll disconnect the remaining proximity and Face ID ribbon connector. With a lot of excitement, the screen pulled most of the adhesive off of it, reaching a distance of about 5 feet from the phone before finally snapping like an aged rubber band. Starting with the single microscopic tri-wing screw at the top left of the proximity sensor, I'll then remove the 3 Phillips screws holding the ear speaker in place. Slowly, then carefully, I'll take off the small metal bracket that holds the sensor to the screen. The redundant clips and adhesive throughout the device are common for Apple devices, even though no one has ever had the issue of them just falling apart. Heat will help remove the front components safely from the adhesive that holds them in place. I'll slowly work my tweezer around the parts supported by metal to avoid causing damage to the soft ribbon cable. Slowly but surely I can remove the assembly from the damaged housing. Next, I'm going to apply a coat of 3M's tape primer. This will help the replacement water-resistant adhesive stick to the frame. Despite the back glass of this phone being shattered and already having 0 resistance to the liquid, I think it important to make repairs as close to factory as possible. I'll apply a coat around the entire frame of the device. The primer has no interaction with electrical components, but I'll take extra care to avoid painting over the front-facing camera assembly. While the primer dries, it's time to prepare the replacement screen for installation. I'll start by removing the protective plastics over the ear speaker spot and the rear panel. Aligning the proximity and Face ID sensors are important, and they'll fit perfectly into the plastic alignment bracket at the top of the screen. I'll reinstall the metal clip that holds the sensor in place, as unnecessary as it may be. Then we will just cover it with the second metal clip that is built into the ear speaker. After screwing in the smallest tri-wing screw mankind has ever seen, I'll replace the 3 Phillips screws and secure the proximity and ear speaker assembly to the replacement screen. Now I'll remove the plastic adhesive covers from the main LCD and digitizer flexes. Most vendors do this for you, as it is completely unnecessary to have them loose. Careful not to rip any of the ribbons, and I'll secure the large one to the metal frame below. Going back to the main housing with the now dried tape primer, I'll carefully line up the replacement water and dust resistant adhesive. These come pre-cut with most replacement displays. After aligning and dropping it into the frame, I'll use a small flathead screwdriver or spudger to set it in place to avoid any bubbles or bulging when we install the replacement screen. With the plastic out of the way, we can reconnect the battery before the rest of the other components due to some oversight in the design lab. Screwing in the metal shield with its 3 tri-wing screws, we'll move over to installing the display. After all 3 ribbons are connected to the board, I'll install the shield with its 5 tri-wing screws and proceed to power on the device. These are small Lego style connectors that clip into place. They should go in easily and shouldn't bulge from either side. They should click satisfyingly into place. It's important to make sure our display is working before setting it down into the bed of adhesive we've prepared for it. With everything looking good so far, I'll clip it into the housing at the top first and work my way down the sides, finishing the installation with the 2 long pentalobe screws at the bottom. Once the device is fully powered on, we can see the blinking Face ID sensor at the top, and we have no warning display about it not functioning. Overall, the iPhone 11 is a very repairable device, following in the footsteps of designs from previous generations. Thanks for joining me. I'll see you next time.